guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should, because I normally talk about geeky things, but sometimes I tell you guys crazy stories about the reasons why I drank. So this is a new segment on my channel that I'm going to basically just sitting on my couch, drinking a glass or bottle of wine while I tell you guys crazy stories about my life, whether it's from when I was a child or to just a few days ago. I'm going to tell you guys about the time that I was accused of plagiarism because I'm just a good writer. So I was a senior in high school at this point in time, and we had this big assignment that we had to do in one of my literature classes. The literature class itself was called Brit Lit, so it was about British literature, right? That's the way it should sound. But yeah, we had a writing assignment. You know, a bunch of non-British people had a Brit Lit writing assignment where we had to write a story in the same way that other British literature stories were told, like the Canterbury Tales. That was one of the big ones we read. I think we also read Dante's Inferno. Was that even British? I don't even know. Anyway, this particular teacher was actually a teacher that my mom had when she was in high school. My sister had when she was in high school. I graduated from the same high school that my mom and all of her sisters, including her sister-in-law, plus her brother, all graduated from. None of my uncles graduated from this high school, nor did my father, but my uncle married his high school sweetheart, so they've been happily married for a very long time, but they also graduated from my high school, 1972. And I only know that because I kept pointing out all their pictures as we walked by the senior class photos. And now I'm up on that list as well. Anyway, so we're talking about the time that I was accused of plagiarism. Needless to say, because this teacher knew my mother and two of my aunts, plus knew my sister, he knew very well that I was not the kind of kid that would plagiarize. So I don't understand where his mentality came from or why he thought that I plagiarized. And what's funny is his story actually changed partway through this. When he finally got in trouble is when his story changed, and it's hilarious. So let's start from the beginning. So we had this writing assignment that we had to do, and back then I was good at writing, but I wasn't good at characterization because of the extent of what I wrote, you know, prose-wise, was all fan fiction. So I took already existing characters and I put them into my own personal situation. Essentially is how fan fiction works, right? So that's essentially what I did, kind of. I mean, they were still my own characters. It was still my own story. It was set in Ireland, like the show, but I basically used the looks and the names of 3 of the characters from a show called Mystic Knights of Tir na nog. Now, if you're not a huge Saban fan like me, you would have no idea what Mystic Knights of Tir na nog was, because it was a very short-living kind of side project that Saban did while he did Power Rangers. It was also not based, one of the only ones that he did that was not based on a Japanese television show. That, along with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or it wasn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ninja Turtles Next Mutation. Those were the only 2 that were like primarily just American. Well, actually not really, because they were set in Ireland. It was in Ireland. They had Irish actors and everything. I really liked that show when it was on. It only lasted for like 2 seasons. I still miss that show. That's such a good show. Anyway, it was terrible, but it's a good show. So I used the names and the looks of the characters, but I still characterized the characters slightly differently, because they didn't have to have the same, they didn't need the same personalities that they did in the show, and I put them in a whole different situation. I wrote the story. I was really proud of it too. If I could find it, I would love to see if I could find a copy of it somewhere. I'm sure I printed off a bunch of them because of this whole situation, and passing it around from teacher to teacher, trying to like get people on my side about all of this. It was not hard to do. I was known in that school, in high school, as a goody two-shoes. Like, nobody could ever think I would do anything wrong, mostly because I was too scared of getting caught. I went to school on senior skip day, if that gives you any idea of how goody two-shoes I was. So I was super proud of this story that I wrote. I had never written anything so good. I worked so hard on it. I got it turned in, and I was super excited. It was due on a Friday. When we came back to school on a Monday, we were supposed to have our grades. So I went up and I looked at my grades. He had all the grades always posted on the wall with our student IDs. Therefore, nobody knew except for you, what your student ID was, unless you told somebody else, but why would you? I looked, and sure enough, I was given a 0. And I was super confused. And this was like the big assignment. This assignment basically like made or broke your whole semester. So I was like, crap, what's happening? So I went up to the teacher and I was like, why did you give me a 0? I turned it in. Like, that was my thought, was that he just like misplaced it. Because I had no idea that he was going to accuse me of plagiarism. Because that is a huge, huge allegation. And you gotta have substantial proof that somebody plagiarized in order to really honestly accuse them of plagiarism, which he didn't have, because I wrote it. Because I wanted to make sure he understood. I turned it in. Like, I turned that in. Like, I promise I did. I turned it in. And he goes, right. And he gets on his computer and he types in one of the names and pulls up a picture. This is back when Google searching was still very new. This was 2005. He pulls up an image of Rowan, which is the leader of the Mystic Knights of Tir na nog, and he goes, long curly hair, red tunic. I think this looks pretty familiar, don't you think? And I went, okay. So I used existing characters as a platform in order to create the story, because it's easier for me as a visual person to visualize something actually visual. He goes, I'm pretty sure you copied this entire story from this Mystic Knights of Tir na nog, or whatever it's called. I could not believe what was being told to me. He and I got into a screaming match in the middle of class. He didn't start class until 20 minutes afterwards, because we were too busy yelling at each other for him to even start teaching. And I was crying. I was freaking out. I was so upset. And I kept insisting that I wrote the story. I did, all of the work. Yes, I took characters that already existed as a way for me, who is a visual person, to be able to visualize. And I'm not good at naming. I'm still not great at naming. I generally will use names that I hear, or I will go to a name generator. I'm still terrible at naming. And so I am like, no, I did the work. You cannot tell me I didn't do the work. And I even told him, I said, do you have actual evidence other than the fact that I described these people from this show? Do you have any other evidence? He goes, well, no, but I'll find it. And I'll go, good luck, because I wrote it. And then he says, he looks me straight in the eye. So I tell him, can't the fact that I'm super upset be evidence that I'm innocent? That I'm so upset that you're even thinking about telling me that I plagiarized? Like, what? And he goes, no, I think you just finally got caught. So I'm still arguing with him. We are still yelling at each other. The whole class is sitting down in their seats, silent, watching this occur. And what's funny is the majority of people, even the people who didn't like me in high school, even afterwards, they were like, he really thought you cheated? Like, what? The reason they didn't like me is because I didn't cheat, because I didn't go out and drink, because I didn't go out and get high. That's the reason these people didn't like me. I was too busy doing my homework, or doing theater, or doing something else creative. Like, they didn't like me because of that. Like, that's the honest to God truth. And I actually had somebody who was one of my biggest bullies throughout all of high school going, you didn't cheat. Like, even I know that. Like, no, I would have defended you. I'm like, then why didn't you? And he's like, because it was just too much fun to watch. Oh my God, it was so bad. So we're still yelling at each other. And finally, where I finally just got to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore. You'd think I would have not been able to take it after he said that I finally got caught, because apparently he must have thought that I was a cheater this entire time. For all the years that he knew me, all the years that he knew my sister, all the years that he knew my two aunts that were younger than my mom, all the time he knew my mom. And he thought that I was just now getting caught cheating. Okay. Finally, he looks at me, he goes, and besides, he picks up the packet of papers, because it was like 5 or 6 pages long. Picks up the package of papers and he slams it down on his desk and he says, this is too good to be written by a high school student anyway. And I went, that's what you're really going off of? That's what made you look it up? he finally let it out that is what spurred him to look up the characters to see if I had stolen it because it was too good to be written by a high school student. And I'm thinking, okay, well, except for one thing, my mother is a writer. Let's be real, my mother is an author. At this point, a published author. You don't think that didn't give me something? I had been writing already at this point for 3 years. Like, as full-time as I could, going to school. Full-time. I didn't have a job. I had a lot of extracurricular activities, but for the most part, I was writing. I wrote so much. I love writing. I always have loved writing. And so, yes, I'm good at writing. I'm gonna say it. I'm good at writing, okay? I usually like being modest, but you know what? I'm a good writer. I'm a good one. Anyway. That's why I'm gonna start writing and start publishing things, because I wanna. Anyway. So he's telling me this is too good to be a high school student. It's what spurred him to actually look it up, and he found these characters, so obviously I stole it. So I kind of lost it, and I said, you know what? I can't be here. I can't be in class. I went and I sat down for about 15 minutes, and the girl next to me, again, she was nice to me in high school. We weren't friends, but she was like nice to me in high school. She turned to me, she's like, I know you didn't cheat. And I'm like, I know I didn't cheat. I was so upset. I was so very angry about this whole situation. So angry. So later that day, I managed to get into the library and I printed out like 12 copies because I knew that there were teachers in that school that would be very honest with me and that they would defend me if they felt like I didn't cheat. One of which being the other big English teacher that I had throughout high school. She was also at that time a teacher of mine as well, because I was part of publications, which is what puts together the yearbook. Again, writing. More journalism than anything, but still writing. And I gave a copy to her. I gave a copy to his wife, who was my gym teacher. More on that story some other time, because there was a reason why she was my gym teacher throughout all of high school. And that's another interesting story. If you want to hear that story, let me know in the comments below, because I will tell you that story. I gave a copy to my Spanish teacher, who had known me since I was like 7, when he started teaching my family Spanish when I was 7. Plus, actually, he knew me slightly prior to that because I had started karate, and that's how we got to know him and his wife, because his wife was a black belt at my school. And I gave a copy to a couple of substitutes that I knew that were in school that day that knew me very well and knew my family really well and could vouch for my character, plus read it. So the other English teacher, later that day, she comes to me and she's like, yeah, so here you go. I corrected it for you. And I go, and because one of the things that I told her was this teacher had said that it was too good to be written by a high school student. She goes, it is definitely written by a high school student because, oh my gosh, you have no grasp for grammar. And apparently neither does he. And I was like, I started laughing so hard. She's like, just give him that, and he'll realize that it's not too good to be written by a high school student. I'm like, I don't know if I should be offended or if I should thank you. But either way, his wife got super upset with him. Like, everybody got upset. So then my dad got involved. You don't want the House family involved. You don't want the Yorick family involved. Like, you don't want my family involved, because my family, when there is injustice that happens, my family, we will take you down. We will take you down. So at this point, he's already getting all kinds of flack from the other teachers that I have gone to, and they're all like, what the hell? First of all, you can't accuse her of plagiarism until you actually have physical evidence in hand that she copied. 2, how dare you? She would never cheat. And 3, are you freaking kidding me with your reasoning? Are you freaking kidding me with your reasoning? Like, all of them were already like all over him for this. So then my dad calls the school, and he doesn't want to talk to the teacher. He wants to talk with the principal. So he's on the phone with the principal of my high school, and he's letting him have it. And the principal's like, oh no. Like, the principal, from what I understand, the way my father explained it to me, the principal was like so scared that we were going to sue the school. I think my dad may have threatened it, because we would have won, because he couldn't have proven that I plagiarized, because I didn't. So the principal was so scared. He immediately went to the teacher, and I really honestly believe that he probably threatened the teacher's job, because teachers don't get fired very easily, but if you break the law, you can be. And this would have been something he probably could have been fired for. So, yeah. So my dad receives a phone call from the teacher. And his very words to my father were, this is where the story changes. His very words to my father were, no, I never said she plagiarized. I said she misunderstood the assignment. So he's like, all right, well, I'll look into it then. Giving the teacher the benefit of the doubt that I just got upset about something. I'm an emotional person. I have actual, like, conditions that make me a little more sensitive than most. So he knew that there was a possibility. So then he says, can I see the assignment? And can I see the paper? So I gave him the assignment, the write-out that I got for the assignment, and I gave him the paper. And he read both, and he called the school back and says, okay, now the teacher is saying that she didn't understand the assignment, but then I read the assignment, and then I read what she wrote, and it fit the assignment perfectly. What the hell? So the principal's even more scared at this point. Like, he's terrified at this point. So my dad gets a call from the teacher again. Hi. No, seriously, she just misunderstood the assignment. So obviously I worded it weird, because obviously you misunderstood the assignment as well. Look, I will give her a second chance at this assignment, but it has to be written, and this is his exact words, and he said these exact words to me as well. It has to be written with the exact same writing style. It cannot be set in Ireland. It cannot have characters. And I can't remember the fourth thing, but there was a fourth thing where my dad looks at me and he goes, so he still thinks you cheated? And I go, oh yeah, no, he still thinks I cheated. Absolutely, he still thinks I cheated. So when I talked to him and he tells me the new criteria, I went, okay, except for I wrote it with these characters in mind, this situation in mind. There's very little chance that I'll be able to write it with the exact same writing style, because my writing style changes with whatever it is I'm writing. It only makes sense. He goes, well, do your best. Fine. So I wrote a new story. And this one was actually fun too. I actually really liked this story. Again, couldn't have characters. But one thing that I learned in the social studies class I was taking that semester was what gridlock meant. Whether it be gridlock like traffic jam, or whether it be gridlock in politics. I just learned what gridlock meant, basically saying the same thing, that something is frozen, that something cannot move forward. I decided to write about this mythical creature that I created called the Gridlock, and it was kind of a cool story, and he froze things. It was kind of cool. I really liked it. Again, if I could find that one, I would love to like put them both up somewhere publicly and have people read them, because I would love to read them again, and probably absolutely destroyed by how terrible my writing probably actually was back then. But it'd be fun to maybe edit them in my current state and do it then. And getting an A on the assignment. He was too afraid to give me anything else, I think. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I drink. So let me know in the comments below if you have ever had a situation like this. Have you ever been accused of plagiarism? Have you ever been accused of cheating? I have certainly cheated. Like, I did cheat, and I got caught once, and never again. It was in 7th grade. Maybe I'll tell that story at some point too, because that's a dark story, because 7th grade was just a dark year. But either way, have you ever been accused of cheating when you didn't, or have you ever been accused of cheating when you did? Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever been accused of plagiarism, and have you ever plagiarized? Be honest. Well, it's the internet. Anonymity, right? Again, let me know in the comments below if you guys want to hear my psycho gym teacher story, and I will see you guys all next time with another wine story time. I'm almost done with this glass of wine. I need to go get another one.